Anyway, thank you. Thanks, WorthingDigital, for having me. I should just admit that didn't really know what to talk about tonight at all. I had a chat with, I think it's Mark, on the phone a couple of weeks ago. I was like, what should I talk about? I'm managing to make a living. I thought, yes, I'll do a really smug title to my talk. Like, yes, how to make money doing what you want. So that's kind of it. Might be a bit random. I want you, there's only like 20 of us, so please just ask questions, right? You don't have to pick a hand up, shout. I think it's fine, right? We're all friends. Yeah? No? Yeah, okay. It's not because I'm from Brighton, is it? Just checking. Okay, so I'm going to start off by talking a bit about the sort of things that I do at the moment, some a sort of random collection of projects, and then maybe I'll talk after that about kind of how I got to where I am. I think it's kind of an interesting story, I'm not sure. What you're watching here is like nobody at the minute. We'll come back to that later. Right, what have I got? But I've actually got some slides. That's craziness. Look, and it's even got you guys on it.
Sweet.
Oh, and I always forget to plug in my little thing. So professional, right. But, right, so, yes, I'm Seb Lee-Delisle. This is my website, Seb Lee. If you want to know more about me, you can check it out there. This is a podcast I co-host. No one knows I have a podcast except it gets thousands of listens, but no one I know even knows that I have one. But somehow it still gets downloaded every week at the moment. This Friday, on tomorrow, Good Friday. We do it live on Fridays generally, and it goes out on a Google Hangout. And it also gets edited into a nice audio one. But tomorrow at 3 PM, I'm really excited because we've got Evan Upton from the Raspberry Pi Foundation. He's like one of the main people behind Raspberry Pi, so we've got him on the podcast. So check it out, 3 PM tomorrow. CreativeCodingPodcast.com. CreativeJS.com is another website. There's loads of us now. We just write about cool JavaScript things that happen. Our newest member is in the room, John. He hasn't written anything yet, he's building up to it. It's going to be awesome. Watch out for John's post on CreativeJS.com. So check that out if you're interested in cool JavaScript stuff. Oh, this is an interesting one. It's about the right time of year to show this as well. Oh my god, this is like a multiplayer version of Asteroids. It's a bit popular. I posted this last year, almost to the day. And it suddenly got massively hit. It was all over the internet, and you can see it's still really, really popular. And it just had like 30,000 hits in a day. It nearly took my server down. It's so crazy. Now, the truth about this project is it's totally fake. Those aren't actually other people there at all. It's just a simple physics algorithm that I'll explain later if you're interested, if we've got some time. And I thought it was a bit too good. So I had to add this special kill mode. Did you see that? Everyone turns on you and kills you. And honestly, like a few people tweaked, but most people are just like, there's some really weird behaviour. Just everyone turned on me. Anyway, this was launched on April 1st last year. And you can find out more about that on my website if you're interested. Right, let's get back to this. What else? Oh, there you go. But I was actually storing all their data, and then I used it to make nice pictures and stuff. Oh, pretty. Anyway. Oh, in the future yet. Gosh, I'll show you that. Oh, it's stupid. Back to the Future. When they went in the time when he went into the future. Jesus, go on. What? I do what?
The future.
How do I do it? Control. I'm not used to this new computer. I don't like mountain lion. Here we are. Oh, in the future yet? Yes. Because this is a screenshot from Back to the Future. When they went into the future, it was March the 28th, 2013, 8:17 PM. So that's obviously, we're in the future right now. You probably saw there were all these hoaxes on the internet, right? Everyone was like, yes, we're in the future. And so, and it was just someone had photoshopped it, so I thought I'd save them the effort by making this version, which actually updates to the current date and time. And actually, if you keep watching, it might even change. I don't know. You can just use it as a clock. Is it going to change? It must change. All right, let's just wait for a minute. There you go. So yeah, most ridiculous clock ever. If you wanted to use that, I know, I'm in full screen mode, aren't I? That's it. Something like that. Okay, too many things in full screen. Right. What else do I do? Oh, pixel phones. This is something I've been working on for a year or two now. A huge complex project where I try and sync up all the phones in the audience to become one pulsating, animating display. And it's been ongoing for a long time. This is over a year ago, this piece of footage. And I've got it working with about 300 phones. I've got a long way to go. I've been talking to some famous rock stars about bringing it up to 35,000 people. So I've got a bit more work to do on it yet. But yeah, the hard bit is detecting where the phones are. And you know, I'm not talking. I was going to do a demo of that today, but I just fired it up today and it doesn't work anymore. So I'm going to be rewriting that over the next few months. Anyway, oh, here's it working with like 300 people in Amsterdam. Come on. Come on. That's so pretty. Anyway,
that was pretty cool.
This is, I'm going to skip past this. Pixel Pyros. Oh, I'm going to talk more about that in a minute, so let's come back to that in a moment. Right, so this is what you saw when I started, when I opened the presentation today, which I wonder if there's anyone there still. Let's have a look. No, there's no one there. Now, this is us watching people on the internet playing Lunar Lander. So I made a version of Lunar Lander. Do you know what Lunar Lander is? It's a game from 1979. Yeah, here it is. This is my version of it in JavaScript. In fact, I'll tell you what, I might just tweet this out to get some other people playing. Much more fun. I should have set this up before. Let's see if that works. I don't know, it might not. So this is, so I set up Lunar Lander on the internet, and I thought, well, to start maybe making it multiplayer, I could look at uploading that data as they're playing it in real time, and seeing what sort of data comes out, right? So I did this, and that's what's going on here. We're watching these people live on the internet playing. It does get about 30 or 40,000 plays a month, so there's usually a few people playing. There's usually like one or two. It's a bit quiet at the moment. But you can see I just tweeted it, and so now loads of people are playing it. They can't see each other, we can just see them. We can see all of them, but they're just playing on their own. That guy is just totally trying to break it. I know he is, right? These are people that follow me, and they're just like, I'm totally going to break it or whatever. But you can see people dying down there. Anyway, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to have them leave a trail when they play, right? So this is what's happening here. It's a bit faint, but you can see it slowly building up. You can see these lines building up. And every time someone joins, it makes a beep. In fact, we can have a look at JavaScript, and it tells me where they're from. Look, people in Brazil, Netherlands, United Kingdom, Milton Keynes, New York. Look at that.
It's big time now.
Actually, there's quite a bit too many, I think. I might have. Anyway, so I left it running overnight and ended up with an image like this the next day. So I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And so that was a couple of years ago, and maybe 3 years ago, and I had this idea that I could maybe somehow make this in real life as a real proper installation. So last year, I started looking into big hanging plotters, and there's one in particular called the Polargraph by a guy in Scotland, I think, or he's Scottish, he might live in Newcastle, and he's released this open source plotter, and it hangs on 2 cords, and there's 2 motors in each corner. Hopefully you'll see it a bit better in a moment. So this was my early experiments with his plotter, and I thought, yeah, sorted, this is brilliant. I can use this plotter to plot the trails of people playing the game in real time onto paper, and I can make like proper physical artwork with it. So I put it forward to Dublin Science Gallery for their game exhibition last year, and they said, yeah, we'll do it. Well, that was me drawing Neil Armstrong with it. So that was what I sent to Dublin Science Gallery. That was my plan. I was like, that was my proposal. Yeah, so you can see how these motors in the corners with weights on and this thing in the middle, and you can turn these motors to basically move this wherever you wanted. And I put a roll of paper behind it so we could always change the paper. And this is like 3 meters wide. And I also wanted to make a little arcade game, like an arcade machine, so people coming to the gallery could play the game and see their trails being made. This is my experiments with stepper motors. I worked with an engineer who actually lives in Artsing, very nearby, and he's brilliant. I couldn't have done it without him, because he took one look at the photograph and was like, yeah, that's never going to work. I mean, the photograph is great, but running for 3 months every day, like with kids and everyone messing around with it, so he helped me build a decent version. So this was stepper motors, and this was our first test with the stepper motors, like scaling it up using the same photograph software, and you can see it there. You can see them running around, and this was like the most electronics I've done for ages as well. I've been tinkering with electronics for years. I'm just rambling on forever. It's going to really go over time, I'm sorry. But you can see the engineer figured out how to make the wire roll around this barrel, so it didn't need like a weight hanging down there anymore. It could just literally wind around, and and he made loads of design improvements like that. But we found these stepper motors. They're really jerky. Do you know anything about motors, anyone? Yeah, a little bit, maybe. Stepper motors are pretty nasty, but everyone uses them because they're cheap, very easy to work with. But my engineer was just like, no, you've got to use servos. Let's just see, I just want to see what's going on. Do it. I can just hear people beeping, which is like people joining this game. Look at that.
Is that all from your tweet?
Yeah. I've got 10,000 followers, so there's one little guy up there. I might just leave that running. I can't stop watching this, by the way. You know you've done a good job if you just can't stop looking at something you've made. What are they tweeting? Yeah, okay, now where was I? Randomness, right. Okay. This is an actual real Leonardo arcade cabinet. It's in LA. It's actually mine. It was $1,000 and I bought it on eBay, and now my friends in LA are looking after it because I don't know how to get it here. Moving on. So that was my friend's in his pickup truck taking it home. So instead of using the original one, I thought, well, I'll make a new cabinet. So you can buy a flat pack arcade cabinet from these guys, Gremlin. So I bought one of those. I made my own control panel with the thrust control. Spent so long doing that thrust control, it was just ridiculous. Look at that, metalworking. I did metalworking. Hack spaces are brilliant. Is there one in Worthing?
No,
probably not, but the Brighton one's nearby, you should join that. There it is, my arcade cabinet being built. It's pretty exciting. Oh, there you go. Pretty cool. You can just buy all these buttons and stuff, and it's just a computer inside. That's actually full screen Chrome in there. There's people playing the game, and look, you can see this is the plotter behind. Black paper and silver pens. I tried all of these different paint pens to get the ones that I wanted, but every single one of these paint pens is like £7 each or something, really expensive, and they dried up in about 5 minutes on the plotters, so just useless. In the end, I ended up using silver Sharpies. There's all my pens. I spent about £200 on pens just trying them all out. I know, it's pretty frightening, isn't it? Yeah. But this is interesting. This is like the final motor unit. So this is a DC servo, which is a highly, highly controllable motor. And see how there's this cool pulley there, and this winds this bow around. This is my electronics, it's controlling it. Honestly, so awesome. And these things, they're £100 each. They drive the servo motor. Yeah, I'm just geeking out really about electronics. And the wire went round here, and crazy. We also put electricity down this wire, so we electrified this barrel, put electricity down the wire that the pen was hanging off, so we could push the pen in and out without having to have other wires go into the pen holder, which is that's, you know, stroke of genius from Paul the engineer. There you go, the first time I run it. Look at that. It works. Oh. Oh no, it's fine again. Oh, I swore. Sorry. Yeah, so that was just a little test run, but you can see with these servos, you've got such fine control over the motor that you can, and they're really powerful, so you can move them really fast, as long as you get the acceleration and deceleration right. Oh, here's another go. Oh, it also self-calibrates, so it finds where it is. I don't know what's going on there. I don't think it's. Should there be drawing something? There you go. So really nice, beautifully smooth, and totally in control. So what's this? Oh, this was one of the tests. So I got it hooked up to the browser, and this was the first time I tried it with actual data from the internet. This kind of sort of thing that we were just watching a minute ago. But this time, that data is also getting sent to this piece of software that's controlling the plotter machine, which I should see in a minute. So that's figuring out how long each site should be, and adjusting those motors. And there it is. Look at it. Amazing. My favourite bit is when it goes back to the start, because it runs so fast and smooth. The rest of the time it's just drawing really, really slow. Anyway, God, I'm talking too much. This is the install in Dublin. That's the final thing. You can see a couple of screens there with extra data on. Kids love it. Amazing. Brilliant. Here's a video. Shall I turn the light off for this bit?
Yeah, where's the light? It's just in the first one.
Look at this little girl. Let go of it! What are you doing? It's crazy! Anyway, yeah, that's cool. Shall I turn the lights back on?
So how much electronics had you done before?
I had done a little bit of messing around with Arduino, and I'd made, you know, I guess I'd been doing a bit of electronics when I was a kid, so I sort of knew the basics, but not really. This was the biggest Arduino project I've used, so you guys know what Arduino is, yeah? It's a little programmable electronics prototyping board, very easy to get started with. So yeah, I really did level up quite considerably, and with the help of Paul Strotton, the engineer, who in the end we made custom PCBs and everything. I mean, it was really quite crazy. That's the end of that presentation. So let's do the next one.
Just a quick question.
Yeah,
how much
please
did you
do.
spend getting that project to work? To get it in that exhibition? Because I know the flat pack arcade unit would have been pricey on its
That was
own.
about £700, I think, £600–700, including shipping to Dublin.
Are you funded by
I
arts
had a-
boards and things
I
like
had a
that?
budget from Dublin. Their limit, maybe I should talk about this because it's quite an interesting business thing. I put a proposal. Well, basically they contacted me and said, "We're doing this exhibition. We really want you to." Oh no, it's going on the internet.
Oh. Quick pause it.
Shall I pause it?
Go on, pause it. You can,
Yeah,
you
pause
can-
it.
yeah, go on. Yeah, this shouldn't go on the internet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pixel Pyros. Now this is the digital fireworks display that you control. Which you control. That's the tagline. I did a very quick experiment a few years ago in Brighton. on the Unitarian Church, made with flash, where you could wave your arms around and fireworks come out. It was such a good idea. Everyone loved it. I've just been meaning to redo it for ages. So last year, I decided to do it as the opening, the actual launch for the WorthingDigital Festival. Did anyone see it?
Yeah.
Did everyone see it? I didn't see it. Did you all see it? Okay, I'll better explain it, and a few people didn't. So, this was, I don't know what to say about this. Oh, right. Oh, God. Oh, I could just talk for ages about this, but I'll try not to. I'll get angry. Because every single thing on this project went wrong. In fact, everything went wrong on Leader Trials as well, but I pulled it off at the beginning. Maybe we'll talk about everything going wrong later if we get time. Everything went wrong with this project. This was my initial mock-up. This isn't a real photo, this is Photoshop. And you'll see I'm projecting straight onto Jubilee Library. That was the original plan. We were meant to cover their building in this low-tack, sticky vinyl. At a huge expense. It usually costs 12 grand to cover a building in vinyl, and we managed to get it for 5 grand. And the library were like, yeah, it sounds good. Like 3 weeks before, we're like, yeah, we've thought about it. Oh my god, this should probably not go on the internet either. It's fine, this is what happened. They were like, yeah, we've talked about it some more. We're actually not that fine with it. And so I was like, oh my god. So yeah, long story short, oh my god, like the Tuesday before the Sunday this happened, we were still trying to figure out how to rig a screen onto this library. And I met this amazing structural engineer called John Orrell from Hop in Brighton, who loves doing these crazy projects, and he's a really cool guy. And he came up with this crazy idea, which we'd sort of looked at before, but hadn't quite figured out. We were going to get a couple of these elevated platforms and put some sort of gantry across. And it was his stroke of genius to say, just get 4. Just get 4 of them. They're brilliant. Like these things got, I think they got like 14 meters or something. These ones. They just used scissors, and we could put 4 of them. He did all the maths and figured out maximum wind loads we could have, and we got this gauze screen, which was like 3 grand or something. Fixed it onto the top. Oh, for this one, we got some Arts Council funding. We got 10,000 Arts Council funding. Spent all of that, of course. The mutes, these are called mutes.
Mobile elevated work platform.
Oh,
I do their website. So
you do Hops?
I do
no,
those, I
Facelift.
do Facelift website. Yeah.
Facelift. Awesome. Yeah. Well done, Paul. Yeah, so we just got 4 of them, and we hooked the screen up. There it is. Oh, and there's the screen. So the idea that we just got massive projectors pointed at these things, and we also got motion detection cameras, and you can just sort of see these orbs of light down the bottom, and you move your hand across these light orbs, fireworks come out. Whew. There's me. I was so delirious that night. I had not slept for quite a while. Yeah, so you can see these are the little orbs, and everyone's going, it's quite interesting with this project. I sort of imagined there'd just be these orbs and everyone would be sitting down and just kind of getting up occasionally and going, and then maybe sitting down and but no, it wasn't that at all. It was like every single station had someone on going, and like just blatting out fireworks just constantly. I was really pleased that that it worked. Massive projectors. The projectors cost like 6 or 7 grand to hire for the night. I mean, they're just insane. It was like insanely expensive to put this on. But it was, yeah, it was a huge success, even though it was all a bit crazy and panicky. But yeah, we pulled it off. It was really, really fun. And all these different styles. I've got some video of this, probably just show you that, eh? There it is. back on. Yeah, so I don't know what to say about that. Any questions about that?
You can hire that.
You can hire it. Do you want it?
Don't know yet. I'm afraid to ask how much it is.
How much do you think it would be?
We already spoke about the projectors on bricking it enough as it is. Yeah.
Have you hired it out again?
Well, okay, so we are looking at taking this on tour, as it said in that little video thing. So the Arts Council, who gave us £10,000 grant to put it on, absolutely loved it, you know, because it ticks loads of their boxes. You know, it's very accessible, open to all ages, digital stuff, outdoors, free to the public. So they were like, you know, a few people that were there were like, look, you should take this on tour. So that's what we're getting together now. We're looking at 6 dates in between September and November, and we're just at the moment today, we just closed the applications for people to apply to have it. So we're not 100% sure yet, but we think it's going to cost about £15,000 per event. And that's actually much cheaper than it should be, because we've made friends with an AV company who are letting us have an even bigger projector than we had that night. These projectors are probably like this big. They're like really big. They take 2 or 3 people to carry them. They cost £100,000 to buy, and they usually get, if you just hired one out from an AV company, you'll probably spend at least £7,500 per night for one of those, and they'll charge you extra for crew and everything as well. So we've managed to find a company, a really nice company called LM Productions in Eastbourne, who are coming in, partnering up with us, and managed to save a bit of money because of that. But the best thing about these guys is that they are laser experts, so we can add lasers.
If you're writing again, I'm going.
Hoping to be on the 28th of September towards the end of the digital festival. So yes, it's most politely going to be then. We are applying obviously for more funding, so most of the events should be, we could probably do it for like half price. You know, we can get some of the Arts Council money, but we're going to need some money from wherever we're going to, and we're talking to various like white night type events, and we're talking to loads of people. There's something happening in Nottingham, there's things happening in Leicester, there's the Lumiere Festival in Durham, which is definitely happening, which is at the end of our tour, and that's like 4 nights solid. We're even talking to the Eden Project, so you know, we've just got to find, we've got the start and the end sorted, we've just got to find 4 events in the middle, but we think, we're not entirely sure yet, because we haven't, it sort of varies from location to location as well, and sort of logistics of where we're going, but we think it will be around £15,000 per time, and that's kind of a cheap version because it's a sort of trial, and you should maybe get half of that off because we can subsidise it with the Arts Council grant, which we're applying for next week, and we should know in like 3 months or something. It's quite a big amount of money that we're trying to get. So yeah, this is done with the technology here. Oh, that's the end of that one. That's right, I'm doing 3 presentations tonight. The technology in that is C++. It's a C++ app using Open Frameworks, which is a kind of open source kind of creative coding library. It's a bit like processing, but in C++, so it's a bit faster to do processing. It's just kind of Java-based creative coding application and IDE. So yeah, that's probably got loads to talk about cameras and projectors and infrared and stuff like that if you're interested. But for now, I'm going to move on because I am running out of time.
So what did you say the same deconstruct?
I did do some stuff with deconstruct.
Because I remember saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right. So I set up Pixel Pyros at Deconstruct, and then I turned the camera on the audience, and everyone could make fireworks with glow sticks. So yeah, that's the same sort. It was the same program. Yeah, but I just adjusted it a little bit to do the glow stick stuff. Motion detection is really simple. You might remember from that. So if you're interested in motion detection, then we'll talk about it at the end of this. But now I've got to get onto the. I might just leave that. Oh, look at that. bits. I'm just going to leave that on now for a while. Don't turn the lights.
Oh.
Don't.
I'm playing now.
You're playing. You can't really control it on an iPhone. I never did. I'm really sorry. I've been meaning to put touch controls in for like ever, and I just haven't because I've been too busy. But so this is like the important bit of the presentation now. It's a serious bit. It's the business bits. In other words, it's the bit that I haven't really rehearsed or thought about at all. Obviously, it's going to be brilliant. Don't seem convinced. Okay, so now what I would like to talk about is, you know, the subject of my presentation is probably a bit misleading because it was like how to earn money for doing whatever you want, was it?
Yeah.
There's a slight flaw to this because the one thing that everything I've shown you so far has in common is that none of them earned me any money, and some of them probably even lost me some. So how the hell does that work, right? I mean, that's kind of an untenable situation. You might think that I have rich parents, which I don't. You might think I sold a company for, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds in the past, which I didn't. I did sell a company, but I didn't get that much for it. Can't talk about that on the internet. So what the hell's going on? Well, I guess to answer that question, I need to rewind back in time. Damn it, there's never a good sound effect when you need one, is there? But yeah, if we go right back in time, well, I guess I need to start back to when I was 11, and my dad brought home from the college that he worked at a Commodore PET, and I thought, wow, that's fun. Didn't have a clue what to do with it, just like a blinking cursor on the screen, right? When you get those old computers, that would be it. It would just be like ready, it would just be like blinking. And to me, that's just like the computer going, what? What do you want? It's like, do something. I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. So I liked how computers then, they made you sort of work for it a little bit, right? Computers don't really make you work so much for it anymore. But of course, the thing that I wanted to do, I started typing out programs out of magazines and making games and then figuring it out a bit myself. And then I got BBC Micro, which my dad brought home from his college, and then eventually they bought me an Acorn Electron, which wasn't nearly as cool, but it was still enough to make little graphics. So I just spent my half terms, you know, and my summer holidays, sometimes going out on my BMX, but most of the time just staying in doing programming, right? But I wasn't like programming database applications. I wasn't like doing accounts packages or anything. I was just like, I just wanted to make little pictures and animations happen, right? But in those days, in order to do that, you needed to program. So fast forward a little bit to when I was 16, and I had just done my GCSEs, and I'd done pretty badly in a couple. I got like two E's and a D, but I managed to get like an A in computers and a B for art, I think. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do computers and art for my A-levels. And the teachers were just like, why are you doing computers and art? They're just like two totally separate things. What's wrong with you? And I like to think it's because obviously I had some amazing foresight into future of computing. That's not true at all. I just picked the subjects that I liked and thought were quite easy. Because even back then, a pattern was emerging. You know, A for computers, B for art, C's for boring stuff like French and stuff, and then D's and E's for like history and Latin. I did Latin. Why did you do Latin? That was a weird time, wasn't it, in the 80s? So yeah, so that's what happened. And I had quite a good teacher, and we were programming on BBC Micros in my A-level, so that was good. I got a B, I think. Didn't do very well in my art A-level because I did some art on a computer, which freaked out the tutors or whatever. And so I got a D, which is a bit boring. But then I thought, okay, what should I do? Let's go and do a computer science degree. How stupid. That is so I went to Kingston Polytechnic, because this was 1990. I don't look that old. Honestly, I'm starting to look that old. After Pixel Pyros and Lunar Trails at least. So computer science in 1990 was just rubbish. Just so rubbish. And what Kingston had done is they'd let in like 130 students. And they didn't even have a lecture theatre, so they went across the road to use this big old hall which was freezing, and this old bumbly guy with like a whiteboard and some green pen that I could never read, like droning on and teaching me Pascal. And it's like, I'd never learnt a programming language like that before, and it was rubbish. But on the plus side, I did join the parachute club and I jumped out of a plane 6 times. That was really cool. But sadly, I didn't really last more than a term or 2 and I dropped out. This is going to get along, isn't it? I'm sorry. So what did I do? Well, I thought, well, let's just go and let's sign up to temp agencies. Why not join a temp agency? I can do that. So I went along and they were like, which software can you use? And I just broke down every bit of software I'd ever heard of. I didn't know what any of it was. I remember one time I got chosen to do some design work, like they called it DTP then. Very new, very exciting, and it was PageMaker. I was like, yeah, I've heard of PageMaker. Okay. So I went to this job and it was really boring. It was like loads of surveys. It was like those surveys that came through the door and you'd tick all the stuff off, marketing surveys, right? And you could get coupons and I don't know, rubbish. I don't know what it was. And so I was like, oh my god, I've never seen this software before, like panicking and just trying to work it out, and did some stuff and I thought I'd done it really badly, and the boss called me into their office at the end of the day and I was like, oh my god, I've totally messed it up, and they said to me, Seb, we want to talk to you about your work. We think it's brilliant. You've done like 3 times as much as the last person did. So can you come back tomorrow? I was like, yes. So this is the start of another pattern in my life. The first pattern was that I can't really do anything I'm not very interested in. That was what I was talking about with my art and computer A-levels. This pattern, this new pattern, is that you don't have to be that good to be better than everyone else. You know, you just got to be like not shit. So I've basically since then made a career of being not shit. I had a friend who was in a part of a demo group, an Amiga demo group who made demos. And I guess I'd been messing around with some of the, because by then I had an Amiga. Like for my 18th birthday I got an Amiga. Pretty cool. That was kind of a cool computer then, and you could do music with it, and you could do art and animation with it. It was amazing. And so I was just messing around with this stuff. What?
Someone landed.
No way!
I did that.
I knew this thing would upstage me, that's fine. Let's just watch this guy. Come on. Come on. How can you control it? You can't control it on your phone. Lost my thread. What's this? Oh, Amigas, right? So you have this. I was messing around with Amigas. I guess I'd always been playing music a little bit as well. And I wrote some music, and he loved it, and he stuck it in his demo, and that eventually turned into a company doing CD TV. CD TV was like the CD. It was like looked like a video recorder that you could put in interactive CDs in, but it was obviously just an Amiga in like a video recorder looking boxy thing. Quite rubbish really. But we were doing CD content, interactive CDs, and so I was taken on to do like graphics and music, but in the end there wasn't really enough work for me. It was probably a ridiculous business idea. They were a family business, and I don't know, I clearly had no experience or skills. I guess I could kind of make things look alright. But they didn't have enough design or graphics work, so they knew I could do a bit of programming. So they were like, they first of all got me to do Amos, which is like an Amiga sort of basic kind of thing to make games and stuff. And then after a while, they got me doing C. So I learned C, and took me about 2 months just to be able to read. See, obviously it was quite a steep learning curve. So I did that for a little while, and then the CD came out. Do you remember that? The CD 32. Oh my God, I just got to talk a bit about the time then, how it was so crazy, because no one had a CD writer. Right? This is like, CD writer they were rare, they were like 50 grand to buy or something. And Commodore had one in their office. So whenever we came to make a piece of software, we'd have to drive all the way to, is it Leeds? No, it's Maidenhead, I think, west, yeah. To their offices, burn all our data. I can't remember how we got it there. I mean, like, carrying around 600 megs of data was quite hard then. Probably had a big hard drive like this or something, I can't remember. And we'd have to burn a CD and then really hope that it worked. And so whenever we went off, everyone would be watching out for whether we were really happy or sad when we got back to the office. Sometimes it was just ridiculous. And the CDs, like the gold CDs, I mean, they were called gold CDs, right? If you remember the writable CDs. I mean, they were actually worth probably more than gold. I think they were £200 each. They were gold coloured, which I guess made us feel a bit better about paying £200 for a CD-ROM. So we just have to go out and burn one of these £200 CD-ROMs and just really hope that it works on Commodore's 100 grand CD writer. It was a weird time, you know, when you were doing computers back then. I think it just, every now and again, you've just got to just pinch yourself now and just be like, well, what is it? I've got, look, on this, on my little memory stick, that's 4 gigs on that, right? How many floppies is that? Crazy. Anyway, I digress. I left that company and to pursue a music career. I wanted to be a composer. That didn't really work out very well, but I did join a band and set up a record label and nearly got famous, but not really quite famous enough to be interesting. But in that time, I started doing a website, and we became like one of the first bands on the internet. Points to this story? Probably not, I don't know, but I guess that was a good experience for me, because it was maybe about, it was most of my 20s, I guess, from 24 to 30. I was pushing this band, and we were pretty much self-motivated. We set up our own record label. We found a label management company who do all the distribution for us. But essentially, like, putting out a record back then, you might as well just throw your money in the bin. We spent, I think, £1,000 on a plugger, and then 600 quid on another plugger that got us a bit of radio play, and then like it was so messed up, really, the music industry, like, because it was all pop bands, and they had their singles in for like £1.99 in the shops, and to get your single in the shops for £1.99, you'd have to sell them 3 for the price of 1. And I think like 1 was probably £1 or something. So these bands that had singles in the shops were on a sort of loss leader. They wouldn't actually even make money out of them, and maybe unless you sold like 1 million, like the Spice Girls or whatever, and then you'd maybe make a little bit. You'd have to spend more money to get it like, prominently featured in the shops. Honestly, it was just such an eye-opener, that whole experience. But there was one bit of good fortune that came out of that whole process of putting a single in shops. Well, we were also selling it on our website. I think we got quite a bit of press. I think we got a full page in the Mirror, or at least a quarter page or something like that, in Carol Vorderman's technical page or something. It was like a computer page or web. Maybe it was the World Wide Web page or something. And
were you the Future Sound of London? Were you?
Future Sound of London?
They had websites, didn't they? No, you obviously had.
Oh, I know, yeah.
They were the
that
first
sort of
ones, weren't they?
electro
Yeah.
band, yeah.
Dying
We were
to be.
before them even, I'll tell
Were
you.
you?
It was just like 96, 7,
Oh, right.
I guess. So maybe they were sort of around. I know. They were obviously very successful. We weren't really. We weren't really. But the thing was, like, so because we sold a few thousand copies on our website, we managed to get in the Daily Mirror, and we got lots of press and publicity from that. Of course, the truth is we sold about 6. But we sort of realised, well, how's anyone going to know how many we sold? No one will. So I'm just going to say we sold 2,000. And I was like, oh my God, you sold 2,000. There's a lot of lying going on. But it's like in the music industry, everyone lies, right? That's the thing you don't realise. So it's like, unless you start lying, then you're just not gonna get anywhere. Well, I still didn't get anywhere. But anyway, here's an interesting story. Jeff Foster, the chief engineer at George Martin's Air Studios, was driving into work from his home, I think in Hertfordshire, driving into London, and this band came on the radio, and he liked the track, so he decided to pull over. And the reason he had to pull over was because it was being played on Chiltern FM, a local radio station. He knew that when he crossed the next junction, that he would lose the signal to Chiltern FM. So he pulled over just so he could hear who this band was, and of course it was my band. And so he found our website and sent me an email and said, "We really want to work with you at Air Studios." And I was like, "Yes, we've made it. George Martin's Air Studios." And this was another time when, you know, like music technology has just changed so much, because back then we were using a really shitty studio. It was really shit. And it used ADATs. Do you know what, does anyone know? It's music technology, ADAT recorders. They're obviously really cutting edge and amazing in the 90s. Well, they were never really amazing, but they were cheap. That was really good. You could get 8 tracks of audio onto one VHS cassette. Yeah, it's amazing. So they had these ADATs, just a horrible sort of tinny sound to them. But our studio had like 2 ADATs, so we could have 16 tracks of audio, and it cost us like £200 a day to rent the studio. And they had like, I think they had like 2 compressors or something, so we'd have to choose which tracks we put the compressors on. And anyway, so going to Air Studios was quite amazing. Like it's Lyndhurst Hall in Hampstead. It's an amazing studio. They record all the soundtracks to James Bond, and all the massive rock stars have been there. You know, at the time I think Madonna had been in before, Blur had been in, you know, Sting. Like those sort of, you know, not the up and coming people. They were really big people, and we were just like blown away by this studio. Really, they had 2-inch reel-to-reel tapes, 2-inch, like so this thick with tapes. I think the tapes cost like 150 quid each or something, and these 24-track machines, and they had 3 of those. So they had 3 24-track reel-to-reels to record all the orchestral parts on, and they had this massive desk. I think the desk was like £1 million quid. Had all flying faders. And just Lyndhurst Hall itself, that has all these motorised bafflers which moved around to change the reverb between like 0.2 of a second and like 10 seconds, and I don't know, and the control room was bigger than the entire studio that we'd been in before, let alone like the live room. There was about 2 or 3 live rooms, one of which of course was the beautiful hall. And bless, you know, we were in our 20s. I can still remember just being like, oh my god, we went into this little side room, like a green room, to hang out. There was somewhere just for the band to hang out, not in the control room. It's like, there was like a filter coffee machine which was just always full of coffee. Just as much coffee as well, biscuits. Oh my god. So yeah, we were blessed. We were kind of a bit blown away by this. One time, I'll never forget, we came in early one day to record, and there's a Steinway piano in there, and those pianos I think are about 100 grand's worth. So Casper, our guitarist, was just playing in Lyndhurst Hall on this piano, beautiful piano. Jeff comes in and he's like, "Oh, it sounds loads better if you lift up the lid." So he lifted up the lid. Now, in order to fully explain what happened next, I have to rewind a little bit. There are these microphones called Neumanns, and they're very, very expensive. I think they're a couple of grand each. And if you're lucky, like a budget studio would have one of these microphones, but it would be in a box, right? And it would be brought out on special occasions. It'd be like, okay, I'm ready to do the vocal track now. And it'd be like, everyone would be like, oh my god, and everyone would be like, get the Neumann, let's get the Neumann. You'd lift it up like glows of rays would come out and it'd be in a velvet bed, and it would be this beautifully engineered, I think the Russian microphones would just be sparkling, and they'd be handling it really carefully as they screw it into the mic stand, and then you'd listen to it and be like, oh wow, such an amazing sound. So anyway, back to Hampstead, I lifted up the piano, and inside the piano, just like lying around, a couple of Neumanns, like 2 Neumanns. We'd never seen more than one in the same room before. And they were all battered up, and they were just lying in the piano, and Jeff was like, oh, I wonder where they'd gone. Just picked them up, opened a cupboard full of Neumanns, chucked them in, carried on walking. Anyway, I don't really know what the point of this story is. It didn't quite work out with their studios. I don't quite know why. Yes?
The Neumann microphones, they still come in a box.
Yeah?
So, yeah, they still get them out in the boxes for special occasions.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
don't you? Yeah, absolutely. Like, but not at Air Studios, they've got a cupboard full of them. So I guess when they record with orchestras, they just have banks of these. You know. When we were recording our bands, we all had our own personal mixers, right, for our headphones. There's a whole separate sort of multi-channel network of cables, and we could be like, I want a bit more of me if you wanted to. I wouldn't have to ask them. Just be like, more me, all the way to the top, more bass. Anyway, yeah, it didn't quite work out. We had like the best recording session ever. We worked really hard, and they were like, yeah, take 32, take 33, you know, over and over again. But we were really getting into the zone. We played like the best we'd ever played. And Jenny, the singer, who's now my wife, she's a very good singer, but they made her do like 30 takes, and this is just what they do as a matter of course. They had this chart, and they'd write down every word of the song, and they'd find the best words on the best channels, and they'd just go through each one over and over again, pick the best bits out, program all the faders to fade each channel in. Anyway, we went back, and they'd kind of just taken out all the band and put loads of electronic stuff in. And we were like, it was a really awkward situation, because it was like, well, this isn't really us. But then they were like, well, we can get you signed, it'll be fine, we can just like find a manager. And so we were just like totally doing whatever they wanted, really. But yeah, I think we just kind of burnt out. We did some more recordings, because those were dragging on. The engineers suddenly got busy, there was another James Bond film coming in, and we never quite finished them, especially because they were so perfectionist. And you know, the reality is doing a personal project of that sort of scale and refinement is going to take them weeks, right? Not just a couple of spare days that they've got in the studio. So yeah, we finally burnt out. But all along I kind of cultivated a slight freelance web design career. So I was always doing that and pushing that in the background. And then of course the bubble burst at the same sort of time. The band stopped and I moved into e-learning. And I learned Director. And this is another case. I went to work for a company at Adva, called Adval in Aylesbury, that were a really weird company. Everyone there was sort of from the army, I think, or at least around Aylesbury there was like loads of army things. A lot of their clients were like vicars who make army stuff, and so there was that sort of, like the owners were all sort of ex-army, and like all the people working there were kind of nice, but there was, they used to make these e-learning products which were just like banking simulations, and it was like a DOS-based banking system, and they made these emulations in Director, and it was so rubbish, because if you imagine making a DOS screen in Director, I mean, that's kind of crazy, and they'd just move a field to where the cursor would be for that particular screen at that particular time when they were doing that particular task. And they'd put in that cursor, and then they'd manually check what they typed, see whether that's what they should have typed at that time doing that particular task. And then they'd move on to the next screen, which might not be a different screen, it might just be the same screen with the cursor in a different place. You know, it's just like, and of course, it just took weeks and weeks and weeks to do all these really laborious, boring things. And I was like, I'm not doing that. It's so boring. You know, how could I possibly do that? And I knew that computers could do a better job than the humans doing this laborious work. So I wrote a system that was a bit smarter, and what a team of like 10 or 15 used to do in like 2 months, a team of 2 would now do in 2 weeks. So again, that's not an example of me being particularly clever or brilliant, it's just me not being shit. It's like just me saying, no, I'm not going to do this really stupid, laborious work. It isn't that hard to make a system that just was a bit cleverer and had parameters and was reusable. But for some reason, no one did it, and they sort of thought I was a bit weird because I was from Brighton, and I dyed my hair even brighter orange in those days. I don't know why. When you're in a band, you do stuff like that. And they thought I was all weird, and they gave me some money for a company car, and I just bought a classic MG, which never worked. So they thought I was weird, but they liked me because I think I saved. They were still charging their client the same amount as when there was 15 people doing it for 2 months. I think I made them £1 million in about 2 months. So they didn't really like me, but they didn't really not like me either. It was just one of those weird things. Then, like, the best part of this was I was making this other really weird banking simulation for Barclays, and I'd had meetings and we'd spec'd it all up, and I'd started working on it. And then they had all these layoffs, and they were like, sorry, Seb, but we have to let you know, we have to let you go. And I was like, well, it's a bit weird because we've just started this project and no one else in the company can do it except me. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll do it freelance for you. And they're like, yeah, thanks, really appreciate that. So now I was on like £200 a day, like probably 3 times what I was earning with them, doing the same stuff. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't like doing bank things. Banking is weird. Then I sort of found Curb in Brighton, a games company, and I was like, I really want to make Flash games. This was like 2001, 2002. So I got to know Curb and I ended up working for them freelance. And that's when I started my company, Plug-in Media, which was just a vehicle for me, really, to be a freelancer. But then I got a work experience girl in who answered the phone, and suddenly I was a company. And suddenly I could get jobs that were like £7,000, which to me was just like, oh my god, £7,000, how could I possibly ever earn that much? And so then, but you know, when you're a freelancer and you're just earning like a couple of £100 a day, if you're lucky, to get this job for £8 grand, it's like, well, that's amazing. So then Plug-in just grew and grew. I partnered up with a couple of other people, and that, well, some of you know the company in Brighton, do a lot of kids digital for BBC and Sony and stuff like that. Very successful, won 3 BAFTAs now. About 4 years ago I had an epiphany. It was in Minneapolis at a conference, and I'd started by then building a profile by doing stuff outside of the company. Sorry, I can tell you're getting a bit twitchy. I know I've been talking a long time. Do you need me to stop soon? Is it interesting still? Yeah, you got any questions? Alright, okay, I'll just keep steamrolling on. It's just like, there's quite a lot to this story. Sorry, I'll try and keep it short. So sort of all along this time I was at Plug-in, I started speaking, and I'd started speaking because I set up a local user group. I went to my first Flash conference in 2005, I think, in New York. I'd met Aral Balkan, who was a Flash guy in Brighton and is still quite well known for other things. And he told me about this Flash conference in New York, so I saved up my money and went to New York, and it was kind of blew my mind. And I was just like, I really want to be speaking at this conference. I also met some people from a user group in New York called Flash Codes in New York, and they inspired me to set up a Flash Coders group in Brighton. That's a really good thing to do because, well, as you guys know, you've got this little community here, you're getting to know people, the people running it are now getting more and more used to standing up in front of a small group of people and talking, and maybe some of you guys could do a talk here, right? It might be scary, but it's fun, right? And it's good to share, and I think everyone's interested. Or even if you suck, you've learned some stuff, right? The others might not. You're never going to take this. You're going to be fine. You're fine, just do it. Do a talk. Yeah, who wants to do a talk? Next, yeah? What do you want to talk about?
Stuff.
Stuff? So you're obviously inspired by my talk. I mean, it was really good for me. Like, I remember the first time, there was only like 15, 20 people. I was nervous. I was really nervous, which, so, it's astonishing. Even though I'd done gigs with my band and I'd been on stage in front of like 10,000 people, it's different being in a band to like actually being yourself and talking. Anyway, the point of this is that I was getting involved with the local community. I was doing my own talks at Flash Brighton, Flash Codes Brighton, and getting used to that. Plus also meeting other really good people locally who I didn't even know existed. I thought, I was a bit smart, I thought, well, I'll just share all my brilliant things that I've discovered. And actually, there's loads of people who are doing even more brilliant things just there in Brighton. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I was learning from them. So then I started, because of that, and because I'd known a role, I got a few conference slots and started building up there. I was really nervous. I went to, my first speaking gig was at Flash Forward in Austin, I think in 05 or 06, and they booked me for 2 talks. And the first one was about 3D, and I totally messed it up because I was really nervous. And it's like a conference, and you sort of think, oh, I've got to be really, like, I've got to seem like really, I don't know, what's the word, like serious, or I've got to seem like I know what I'm talking about. So there's pressure on you to be like, you know, business guy or like clever guy. And of course I messed it up because I was totally nervous. And I underran. I think I only did 30 minutes of a 50-minute slot because I panicked and I read the time wrong on my clock. And at the end of that I was just, oh my God, it's totally fucked. It's just rubbish. But the next day I had another talk. And by that time I sort of felt a bit better about it because I knew what to expect a little bit. And I just realised I didn't have to be that weird, sensible business guy. I could just be myself, along with all this like the stupid jokes and things that are just I don't know, just being grumpy, you know, this sort of things that I just realised I don't have to be like the serious guy that everyone respects. I can just be myself and bring out some of my personality, and including the bits where I'm pissed off or making a stupid joke. And I just decided that I could